that if New York City was a stock, would you invest in it? Why?
Good question. Good question. Don't take my word for it. We have something called bond raters. These are professional people that look at how cities govern their budgets and how they operate, and they tell people, here's a good place to invest, to open your business, to run, based on how government is managing the portfolio of the city. When you look at the bond raters who make that determination, they rate your bonds, A minus, double A, etc. Under the previous mayor, they had a lower bond rating. When they saw my first year in office, they raised my bond rating. Mm-hmm. And then in my second year, they doubled down and say, we still probably believe this person deserves this double A bond rating because of how he's managing. Investors look at that and determine if they want to invest in the city. That is not what I feel. Those who do it for a profession have stated, this is the city you should invest in.
Are you a Jordan guy or a LeBron guy? Jordan. Why?
He was unafraid to go beyond his comfort zones. And that's who I am, unafraid. You know, I'm perfectly imperfect as a human being, but I'm unafraid to sit back in that imperfection. I'm willing to say, you know what, if I mess up, if I drop the ball, so what? You dropped the ball too. You know, don't be trying to step to me and say, why aren't you perfect? Because you're not perfect.
Right. And I guess this is why I asked that question, because there's some roles in life that are just unfair, I think. You perceive unfair. And the reason I asked you that question about LeBron or Jordan is because on paper, the argument is, by the way, I'm a Jordan guy, right? I'm a Jordan guy. But the papers, this numbers say that LeBron is the greatest in the world.
Right.
He got the most points, the most passes, the most this. But what Jordan made you feel still has precedent today.
Without a doubt.
So my question is, even though we have the stats stating that you have made change, how do we make New York feel like you're Jordan, where it's felt, the change is actually being felt, opposed to the stats that are just out there? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of In the Living Room Podcast, where we learn, laugh, and heal. And I know I say this is a legendary moment. Every time I saw the episode, to some degree. But this one, for real, the icing on the cake. The man needs no introduction. We have the mayor in the living room. Ladies and gentlemen, clap it up for Mr. Eric Adams one time.
See you, brother. Good to be here.
Eric, can I call you Eric?
Please,
Eric,
do, man. You know?
First and foremost, how are you?
Good, feeling good. I found my groove. You know, as whenever you're doing something new, you come out of the block, you stumble a little. Even as a child, we stumbled before we were able to walk. But you find your groove and you realize that, hey, you got this, you know you can do it, and that's where I am right now.
You know, I appreciate the fact that we start on that foot right there, because when you're catching your grooves, also a place of people identifying where you lack or where you're strong.
Right.
How challenging is it to find a groove in the midst of all this scrutiny or feedback or what you're doing or what you're not doing?
I like that. You know, many pro players don't want to play in New York because of the constant media attention. You know, they would say, you know what, I'd rather make less money and play in a media market that is not as intense as New York. When you're the mayor of New York City, it's the most important city on the globe. And it is said that it's the second most difficult job after the president. And it's extremely large amount of volume. And that is what you find as the mayor. Doing the job is not the challenge as much as the volume. Any given day, like I woke up this morning to find that we had a major, we thought it was a cyber attack, which it wasn't. It turns out just to be a IT issue that impacted our city. So something is always happening, every day or night. I'm getting that call where my team is calling me of something, a shooting, a homicide, a major fire, a building collapse. It's just always, the volume is unbelievable. And over 300,000 employees that you have to manage the personalities. And the people, 8.3 million people in this city, 35 million opinions.
I just want you to get that right.
Yeah, no, it's all
Yeah,
good,
a little
man.
closer. There we go.
Yep, all good.
No, I appreciate what you're saying. And in that regard, right, do you think that's why the Knicks been so bad for 20 years?
Now they getting there though. We saw them making a real run towards the playoff.
Yeah.
Injuries hurt us, and that is how life is. The unpredictability of what could happen to you. So we should not wake up expecting to have a frictionless movement. We should just really ask God to give us the strength to be prepared for that which comes at us.
It's a great point. And I think, it's hard to even think about your day-to-day, right? To get a phone call at that time. So let's just go back a bit before present day. Prior to this, you have a career, a police background, right?
Yes.
And speaking about the fact, like, there's also a life where it's fire drill after fire drill after fire drill. When do you find a coping mechanism to then determine what fire to put out first? If I'm getting calls at 2 o'clock in the morning,
I like that. We call it a triage. In a hospital, you have a major emergency. You actually tag people, a red tag, a green tag, etc. So you know that, hey, this person is having a heart attack. This person is having a major bleeding. This person may have a broken arm. That doesn't go to the high list. And so when those first responders or medical professional comes, they look at the tag and say, I got to minister to this person right away. And so having that training throughout my career, 22 years in law enforcement, I've tagged issues because they come in so frequently. And, so if I'm hearing about, hey, there's a terrorist situation or there is a shooter that's on the loose, a mass shooter on the list, I'm going to put that at the top of the list instead of dealing with, hey, we're having a financial issue somewhere. So you begin to build these muscle memories and practices of how you deal with what emergency is the most important.
Echoing what you're saying, I think it's only right to bring up, the assassination attempt on our former president.
Right.
How does that make you personally? For me, the state of how safe are we really is what's coming to my mind. You having this background, what did that do for you when you saw that happen?
A number of things. There were different emotions, There's a level of PTSD of my experience of having someone shoot out my car windows when I was a sergeant off duty as a sergeant in the police department, and you automatically think about that. And so it's not how you feel about Donald Trump. Do you like him or dislike Donald Trump? It's about that a human being was about to be assassinated, who's a father, who's a spouse. And when you discharge a bullet, it does not discriminate. As you see, an innocent person was shot that was there and died. And other people were victims of that type of violence. And you think about that, and that's why I spend so much time trying to get illegal guns off our street. And those legal guns should not be in the hand of people who have mental health issues. There must be a real background on that. And there's no reason to have these automatic AK-47s and these also automatic weapons that we're seeing in our city, in our country. And so that is what I thought about my personal experience and then the professional experience of the work we're trying to do. We removed 17,000 illegal guns off our street. And that's a major, major accomplishment.
Right. Huge accomplishment. So in this particular moment, not to put you in that scenario, now going forward, I personally will be alarmed, nervous, scared. Because if someone was able to orchestrate, I think you have to have some level of intelligence too to kind of be able to set this up in this day and age.
Right.
What would Eric Adams do going forward if he had to be in the election after an attempt was done on him?
I always use sports analogies when I talk about scenarios like this because sports is really part of life. And, a football player has an offensive line. Their job is to protect them and make sure that they're not sacked, they're not injured. And you can't move the ball down the field if you're worrying about being sacked, if you're worrying about being injured. I trust my offensive line. I have a detail that is responsible for protecting me while I'm moving throughout the city. And it doesn't mean that people don't step to me because I'm a challenging person. I'm the cat that don't stay in the pocket. I'm always out of the pocket. I'm always, having unorthodox style of moving the ball down the field, and it drives an offensive lineman crazy. But I like engaging in people, so you'll see videos of people stepping to me all the time.
Wildin'.
Right. You don't know if they have a weapon, if you don't know that they're trying to take me out. But I do have some attributes that make me feel comfortable being in that setting. I know how to fight.
The man got hands.
I'm no punk. You know what I'm saying? So I tell my detail.
The man squared up for somebody was so.
I tell my detail all the time. Y'all better not worry about me. Y'all better worry about somebody. They step too close or they put their hands up. They're gonna pay a price. Don't get it fooled that you're not the mayor. You can't knock me out. What? You would get your feelings hurt.
Yeah.
So you could argue, yell, you could say what you want, you can call me names. But once you start talking about you're gonna put your hands on me,
right,
now we have a whole nother conversation. It's not gonna be a lot of talking.
For sure. You don't want to be the person online getting cooked by the mayor, too, right? So let me ask you a question. Now, since we're on that topic as well, how's your relationship with Donald Trump? Like, were you guys able to speak after that situation? Do you guys reach out to see his current state of mind? And what did, the White House or the current state of your team, how did y'all feel getting this response?
Well, I think that the President Biden responded appropriately. That there's no room for political violence that we're seeing, and we immediately not only made a statement, we joined different groups. I stood next to a Republican minority leader in the city council, and he made a statement that was so profound, and I've been talking about it over and over again, is that anger and hate are two different things. It's all right to be angry. Like I was angry that I believe the city abandoned and betrayed my family by not giving us the resources we need, that I was dyslexic. I was angry to learn that I was not diagnosed and getting the support that I needed. I was angry that, my mom had to work 3 jobs and my sister lost her childhood she had to raise us instead of being a young girl, enjoying the things that young girls need. I was angry that they were giving us food that fed our healthcare crises, diabetes and others, the food impacted that. And so I took that anger and turned it into purpose. When the police arrested and beat me, instead of saying, woe is me, I said, why not me? I went into the police department, started one of the blacks in law enforcement, and that anger motivated me. And what we're seeing is hate. Now, you have to have hate to climb on a rooftop and shoot someone that you don't actually know and hit innocent people. Hate is some of the stuff we're seeing playing out. When I'm calling for the destruction of you, that's hate. And hate has become normalized and comfortable. And so we need to use anger to motivate, and we need to say that there's no room for hate that we're seeing across our country and not across the globe. Because hate is what happened on October 7th. A lot of people really don't know what happened in Israel on October 7th. They never saw really the footage, some of the stuff they never released. But only hate can do that. Putting a baby in a microwave, raping a woman, and then, cutting off somebody's head. Yeah, that's hate, brother. Yeah, that's saying I want to inflict mental and physical harm on you.
Right. No, I don't have hate in my blood at all. I don't really necessarily, I never really grew up. I'm from a Dominican household. Love is in the building. You can feel it in here. I know you feel it. I know the energy is good.
There is good energy.
Come on. So here's what I want to know. Because I feel like a lot of New Yorkers are angry.
Yes, without a doubt.
We are. I'm a little mad at the city bikes outside. I brought that up to you already, right? The parking's already tough. Polls, now numbers say one thing, right? So the polls go from 60-some% down to 20% for you right now. How do you respond to the current state of our city going, it's your fault, Mr. Adams? Look, I want to find out why taxes are so high, but then the migrants are here and we got to give them out. Like, I'm a little mad. I'm not a little mad, I'm mad. So how do you change that perception?
Yeah, we all are. And life is actual and it's perceived. And, you can never tell someone your perception is not your reality because that is your reality. And I understand that New Yorkers are angry. And some of what I have accomplished is going to be a retrospective appreciation. People are going to look back and say, wow, look what this brother went through. I inherited a city where COVID was still here. A lot of people don't realize that. Schools were not being open, offices were closed. We had a 40% increase in violence in our city and crime. No one wanted to be on the subway system. We were not educating our children at the levels that they deserve. Foster care children were not being taken care of. NYCs residents were not having high speed broadband. No jobs were here. 2 years later, brother, 2 years. We have more jobs in the city in the history of the city. We cut black unemployment rate and unemployment for people of color in half. It's less than 8%. It was 4 times the rates of white. We cut that in half. We are doing dyslexia screening for all of our children. We saw fourth largest tourism in the city. 4.1 million people on our subway every day. We have an average of 5 felonies a day out of 4.1 million. Robberies in our subway system is the lowest in the history of the city. We have the lowest crime in our subway system in over 14 years. We decreased in homicides, shootings. 5 of the 7 major crime categories are down. We're paying college tuition to foster care children and giving them a stipend and giving them a life coach to 21 so they don't cycle out. Every NYCs resident now have high-speed broadband inside their apartments for free, every one of them. But even more than that, you look at some of the other things. I've been on Rikers Island more than any man in the history of the city. I just got baptized again on Rikers Island with the inmates to tell them that, listen, I see you and I am you. Bond raters increased our bond ratings. Our children are outpacing the state in reading and math. We are outpacing the state. We changed the food that they're eating. We're teaching them breathing exercises, meditation, mindfulness so they could develop their full personhood. And then out of nowhere, the city's trending in the right direction. They said it was going to take 5 years to turn around the city. I did it in 2 years. Out of nowhere, we get 202,000 migrants and asylum seekers. And everyone says, Eric, what are you doing to us? Without the facts. I can't stop the buses from coming in. It's against federal law. I'm required by city law to give them 3 meals a day, a place to sleep, educate 38,000 children, wash their clothing, give them everything that they want by city law. Then when I went to a group and stated that, hey, I need for you to remove graffiti, clean streets, come and contribute to our society, they said, yes, we want to do it. And we'll give you a stipend. The federal law said, no, you can't. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to have them volunteer and give them a stipend to do the services you need. People don't see that. All they know is that, hey, you're the mayor. And when you're the mayor, no one knows the assembly person, the senator, the congressperson, but they know the mayor. And whatever goes wrong, Cat stepped to me a few months ago and said, listen, I'm getting divorced, man. It's your fault, man. You the mayor.
That's crazy.
Everything is on the mayor, brother.
Right.
So people didn't elect me to talk about the problem. They elected me to solve the problem. And that's what we're doing. We're solving the problem. And that's going to continue to get out more. That's why we're doing podcasts like this, because the media covers, if it bleeds, it leads. And people get an impression. You go to the average person, and they'll tell you, I don't feel safe on my subway system. Nothing happened to them, but they're reading every day about those 5 felonies that they're seeing, they're hearing about, instead of the facts that throughout their entire ride, they get to and from their place of employment or school.
You know, that's valid points there. There's valid points, but I want to kind of go unorthodox about what you said real quick.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go really quickly and ask you, are you a Jordan guy or a LeBron guy? Jordan. Why?
Yeah.
Why are you a Jordan guy?
Authentic player.
Okay.
Brought a level to the game that raised it to another level that everyone is feeding off of, and really came about when the NBA needed him. By the time LeBron and others played, they already had these major TV contracts. Billions were being pumped into the industry. People were watching. There were already a level of coolness to it. But when you look at when Jordan started playing, the entire league needed someone to come in and make it this attractive, cool, hip place. And even look at his first Nike contract, how no one thought it was possible. The paper he was getting paid, it was not even known that people would get paid. He changed the game of the entire multi-billion-dollar sneaker industry based on what he has done. So he was a pioneer, unafraid, bold, and he was willing to go to the furthest extremes to get it done. And he wasn't perfect. And he overcame tragedies, losing his dad,
Right.
Going into playing baseball, not mastering it, but willing to say, hey, this is not me. I'm willing to come back and do the thing that I learned. He was unafraid to go beyond his comfort zones. And that's who I am, unafraid. I'm perfectly imperfect as a human being, but I'm unafraid to sit back in that imperfection. I'm willing to say, you know what, if I mess up, if I drop the ball, so what? You dropped the ball too. Don't be trying to step to me and say, why aren't you perfect? Because you're not perfect.
Right. And I guess this is why I asked that question, because there's some roles in life that are just unfair, I think. You're perceived unfair. And the reason I asked you that question about LeBron or Jordan is because on paper, the argument is, by the way, I'm a Jordan guy, right? I'm a Jordan guy. But the papers, this numbers say that LeBron is the greatest in the world.
Right.
He got the most points, the most passes, the most this. But what Jordan made you feel still has precedent today.
Without a doubt.
So my question is, even though we have the stats stating that you have made change, how do we make New York feel like you're Jordan, where it's felt, the change is actually being felt, opposed to the stats that are just out there?
Right. Well, I think that it's how does one feel something? And that is why what this administration is doing is unprecedented. That was Bloomberg ever up here?
Nah.
Was de Blasio ever up here?
Nah.
There you go. That's my secret weapon. We are in a Star Trek methodology. I have to go where no man has ever gone before. I have to be able to pull up next to a barbershop after it closes in the middle of the night and people are drinking some Hennessy and smoking a cigar and knock on the door and say, hey, yo, can I hang out? I have to be able to get on the subway system and move through fur. I got to go up to Washington Heights and hang out and communicate with people. So people define my unorthodox urban style as saying that's what mayors are not supposed to do.
Right.
Wait a minute, what are you doing in the club? Because in the club are people who work all day, blue collar, working class people, and they need to know that their mayor respect them. When I go into the kitchen and speak to the cook, the dishwasher, and say, listen, I'm gonna do everything to make sure we have this multi-billion-dollar, $35 billion nightlife industry. I'm gonna make sure that it's doing well because it hires people who comes from our neighborhood. And so when I do podcasts like yours, I'm able to have real talk with people that's not filtered, because I'm not going to get the coverage of my success. It's not only the stats. Miss Jones that has her child go to school, she's saying to herself, "You cut our school budget. You took resources from our children." When the facts are just the opposite. I put more money in the school than any of the previous mayors. And I turned around. Our children are getting the education they deserve, and even in the early childhood. Our children are being in these programs more than ever. And so the definition in the title that has been given is by those who are just straight haters, man. It's straight haters,
I will say, by the way, I'm a vendor. I was saying this earlier. I'm a vendor for the DOE, so purpose-based driven business. I didn't do this just for popularity. I did it for a purpose. And I'm aware that things come with their challenges. Yes. Speaking of Jordan, you said, he was unafraid. Right? The mayor's on the block, y'all, right? Like he's here. So I never would stand here and say, who created the law then? How do we not necessarily break it, but where's the gray area where you can't allow migrants just come here when we paying taxes? Right. Where's that gray area that we can see the mayor thrive or understand that we don't understand? Let me just give you some credit. Yeah. I just went to, I was in Harlem yesterday. Shout out to Tag. I know you've been there and spoke there before. And they have, the leaders in the police department or top doctors. I learned yesterday that you guys are taking money off the streets that you seize from drug dealers, and you're putting them in basketball parks. Every Saturday they open to I don't know what time. In the Heights you got a batting cage. I'm gonna be real with you. Yeah, I didn't know about that. Right. I was like, what? I haven't swung a bat in a minute. Right. So that's fire, because I feel like our generation, they're not outside anymore. Right. They're not out there sweating. They're home on their phones. Right. But in these cases, when these are so gigantic, right? Like, AI is a thing going on right now in our community, right? Like jobs, they're saying that we're gonna lose jobs at rates that we may not even understand.
Right.
So you having a position where there's migrants coming in and technology can also be taking away more than what we have. What is the solution that we can feel and put in place?
Right, right. And it's so important because we have to be big on the facts versus the myths. You know, a lot of people was saying, well, you're giving migrants things that we don't have. Right. When you drill down into the facts of it, it's not true. Migrants are sleeping on cots. They are having outdoor restroom facilities. They are in tents for the most part. Our largest numbers, Randall's Island, Floyd Bennett Fields. Those who come in the hotel cycle into one of those locations. And no one wants to grow up in a shelter, you know?
Right.
And so even when you looked at when we were giving them the food cards, people were saying, oh, you're giving them credit cards, because that was sensationalism. It wasn't. We were saying, hey, too much food is being wasted because we're giving them food that they don't eat anyway. Let's find a way of giving them, we have to feed them anyway. Let's find a way of giving them a food card that they can only buy food with a small average of $11 a day for each individual, and let them go to the local bodegas and restaurants to buy the food instead of giving it to some large conglomerate outside the country. We were saving $600,000 a month, almost $7 million a year because of that, and we were recycling the money back into our community to small businesses and cutting down on the food waste because people are buying the food they want. But when you looked at the headlines, it gave the impression that, hey, you're giving food cards and credit cards to migrants and we don't have it. No one in this city goes without food, you know? And so what city residents have that migrants don't, they have access to housing vouchers. They have access to health care. They have access to advance payments when they're behind in their rents, you know, one-shot deals. They have access to WIC and other forms. So we have more than migrants will ever get. But, you know, when you are in a dark place, you have a tendency to look at everyone and say, okay, I'm going to hate on them. When, trust me, low-income New Yorkers are treated well in the city with the respect and dignity that they deserve. I must be in a constant state of communicating to people how we made their lives better. Reduce fare Metro cards. That's money back in the pockets of people. Not charging NYCs residents for cable. That's real money. You know, earned income tax credit. People are getting $1,000 back in their taxes because of what we've done. Real money. Paying college tuition for foster kids. Real money. We have a whole list of things that we've done that put real money back into the pockets of everyday New Yorkers within our control. There's a lot of stuff that's not in our control, but that is which is in our control. We have helped low-income New Yorkers.
All right, E. Hear me out.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's things that you have stated you've been through growing up,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You've been arrested.
Yes.
And then became a police officer.
Yes.
Right? You are a person that lived in our society, in our city, and then to become mayor.
Right.
The transition from being someone who was in jail to then work for the people that put you there, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was that transition like? And did you foresee seeing all these challenges as a mayor? Why pick this role if it seemed like it was going to be something so challenging to do and please the people of New York City?
I like that. You know, that's a great question, you know, and you're right. You know, I grew up dyslexic. Mommy was raising 6 of us. And I used to walk in the classroom and they used to have on the back of the chair, dumb student. And, you know, kids.
That's crazy.
Kids are cute and cuddly, but, you know, they can be mean too.
No, for sure.
You know, and I would pray every day, brother, you know, God, please don't have me read. Because if I read in the classroom,
it was over.
They would mimic me throughout the day. In school, in the cafeteria, people would be saying, let's act like we Eric Reed. And it was a very painful experience. And there was often days, you know, that I didn't want to go to school. I just started running numbers, illegal numbers. You know, mom was struggling. I would buy a nickel bag, make 8 joints, and, you know, get that extra $3 for mommy. I'll go to the store and ask people, do you need any help, to help her out? And so my brother and I got in trouble when we were 15, and we were arrested. The 2 of us, the cops assaulted us. And, you know, mommy said to me, you know, baby, if you live long enough, you're going to find yourself in pain. You have to figure out how you turn pain into purpose. And dark places are not burials, they're plantings. You make that decision. And so I took all of that and said that, you know what, I'm going to make sure that I turn it around. So being arrested, dyslexic, rejected, and now being elected to be the mayor of the city of New York is because I saw my mom. I think about all that I'm going through. Think about what our parents went through. I know what hard is. Hard is raising 6 children, not knowing where your next meal is going to come from and knowing that they're going to get ready to throw you out of your house. And you have to still go to those 3 jobs on your arthritic knees, but still come home and provide for them. So hard is picking cotton from sun up to sundown and delivering your baby in the cotton field and then going out and beat them some more, or having someone kick in your cabin door and rape your son, your daughter, your wife, and everything else. So I know what hard is.
Right.
We come from what hard is. Right. This is volume. It's not hard. All I have to do is maintain those principles that were instilled in me of never being afraid to work and give it your all. No one is going to outwork me. I'm not going to beat you with brilliance. I'm going to beat you with endurance. Mm-hmm. Never surrendering, never giving up. And that is what you see every day. And so when it was put in me to run for mayor over 30-something years ago, God placed on my heart that, you need to run for mayor. And I told everyone I saw, brother, everyone I saw. People would tell you 30-something years ago, they said, man, we used to see this cat, and he would say, I'm going to be mayor January 1st, 2022. And we said, man, this guy's on medication.
What triggered that, though? What inspired you to say?
I woke up one day, brother, in this cold sweat, I had a dream that God placed on my heart that you were going to be the mayor of the city of New York. And I moved towards that every day. And he said in that dream, tell everyone you know. So that
real.
Right. So no one can say, that, okay, you just made it up. Because everyone would tell you, this guy was saying this over 30-something years ago. It just goes to show you what God means for you, no one can take away from you. And you just have to believe in yourself. And you have to believe that on the way, there's going to be ups and downs. And so I'm hoping the most important thing for me is not those stats that I gave you on the success we're doing. The most important thing for me is that brother on Rikers Island right now saying, wait a minute, my mayor was arrested. That person who has a learning disability to say, wait a minute, my mayor has a learning disability. That person who lived in a domestic violence environment, that's what my mayor went through. On the verge of homelessness, that's what my mayor went through. I'm hoping that people tune down the noise enough to say, we got this ordinary cat, man. This is no special guy. This is an ordinary cat. Tito's drinking, cigars smoking, bald-headed, earring wearing, ordinary person that's the mayor of the city of New York. We never had a union, blue-collar, working-class mayor in this city before. And if we miss this moment because we listen to all that other hate that's out there, instead of saying, yo, this is one of us, man. This is what we've always wanted.
Right.
One of us to lead the most important city on the globe.
And I got to give you the utmost respect and props for that, because we have people, even me, sitting here in front of you right now. If you only knew where I was when I thought about having this podcast, the people I wrote down on the list, and I said, you know what, let me just write these people on the list. And I got to a point where I said, wherever this is supposed to go, I'm going to let God lead it, right? Like, I'm going to let it happen. And now I got the mayor in front of me. So the credit and the admiration of seeing something and go doing it, we got to give you your flowers on that.
That's right, brother.
You know what I mean?
And you look at, you said you're Dominican. We had 109 mayors in this city and never had a Dominican deputy mayor until me. We never had a Filipino deputy mayor until me. Never a Trinidadian deputy mayor until me. Never had an African-American first deputy mayor until me. Never had a Spanish-speaking police commissioner in the history of the city until me. Never had a woman fire commissioner until me. Never had a woman police commissioner until me. Never had a Korean head of small business services until me. You go through the list, brother. I have opened the city up to the people that the city looked like. That's what people are hating on, man. It's like, who do you think you are? you're going to come in and change how we've been making paper all this time. Because people make paper off of these cities, brother. We have a multi-billion
No, for
dollar
sure.
budget, of buying goods and services. We're now having restaurants of everyday people who have gone out of business if we didn't open up how to deliver food to this city. We are making impacts beyond belief in this city. And we have to make sure people know that. Because folks can have believe, okay, well, he hangs out too much. He's always dressing fancy. He's always this, he's always that. That's what they said about David Dinkins. Same script.
I mean, I hear that. I mean, look, so let me just say this.
Yeah.
One, if there's a party with all these people, I need to be invited. Just know that. That's number one. I need to be there. I need to know if there's merengue, bachata, what's being played at the party. I want in.
Right.
Secondly, speaking on that,
Yeah.
investing in this city, right?
Yes.
If New York City was a stock, would you invest in it? Why?
Good question. Good question. Don't take my word for it. We have something called bond raters. These are professional people that look at how cities govern their budgets and how they operate, and they tell people, here's a good place to invest, to open your business, to run, based on how government is managing the portfolio of the city. When you look at the bond raters who make that determination, they rate your bonds, A minus, AA, etc. Under the previous mayor, they had a lower bond rating. When they saw my first year in office, they raised my bond rating. Mm-hmm. And then in my second year, they doubled down and say, we still probably believe this person deserves this AA bond rating because of how he's managing. Investors look at that and determine if they want to invest in the city. That is not what I feel. Those who do it for a profession have stated, this is the city you should invest in.
It's a great answer, right? But it's how I feel, Mayor.
Yeah.
I want to know if those city bikes out front is an indication of gentrification in the Bronx. I feel like the Bronx is the last place that's been touched. Should I be putting money because, is it the perception because, look, so many billionaires, pandemic hit, the billionaires leaving New York was a tell to say that's scary. The people that have the most money are saying, I'm out of here. Should that be an indication that we're hitting a low? And because we're hitting a low, it's time to invest? Where should I be putting my money?
Mm-hmm. Well, you should, first of all, and that's a very important point you made about bike lanes and other items, because people see them as symbols of gentrification, symbols of displacement. And I'm saying to New Yorkers, having nice things is about developing communities and not displacing residents in the community. We should not be afraid to have nice places we can eat, nice things that we want around safety and things like that without displacing us. That's why we want to build housing in the Bronx and other communities that are affordable for low-income and working-class people. And it should be nice. It should be clean. This building that we're in now, when I walked in, I said, what? This is clean and well-kept.
For sure.
We deserve clean, safe places, and we should not see development as displacement. If it's done correctly, that's why we have the City of Yes in this initiative. People can stay in their communities. I wanted my son to come home from college and be able to come back to his community and stay here. And so we want to continue to do that type of small businesses. We have more small businesses that are up and operating now in the history of the city. And we want to make sure that we become a launching pad for those small businesses. Now, we become the #1 location for college grads to come to, New York City. So yes, people move out all the time, but there's a real stable. We're still seeing a population boom, and we want to keep folks in the city.
Yeah, I think, those numbers, I don't know the details of those numbers. I feel like it's a major city. So who doesn't want to come to New York?
Right.
Here's a question I have. Now, speaking on becoming the mayor, right? Something on your heart. Was there a mayor that you watched that you said, I like what he's doing. If I could be mentored by this mayor or have conversations with this mayor, how did he do certain things? That's something I'm looking forward to. Was there a relationship, any one of them prior to that you had, and how was that conversation like if you did have those
Right.
conversations?
First of all, Dinkins was a mentor. I read, not only did I read his books, but he was a mentor of mine for my son as well as for me. I saw and I learned a lot from him and what he went through. Bloomberg has been a mentor. I still communicate with him around important issues because he went through it and he did it for 12 years. He moved the city forward. I still communicate with Mayor de Blasio. We can all learn from everywhere. And then I mentor with mayors across the country. The mayor of Texas, from Houston, Texas. He's no longer there, but Mayor Turner was a mentor. He was the dean of our mayor's administrations throughout the entire country. So I learned a lot. The former mayor of Augusta, Georgia, I reach out to him often. My brother over in New Jersey, Brother Baraka, he's doing a great job in Newark. So a lot of these mayors, we learn from each other because there's a uniqueness to being a mayor, and they help in doing so in a real way.
So, in these challenging times that you're in, what is the most fulfilling thing about your day-to-day role?
Helping people, man. You know, helping them solve which may be a small problem to us, but it is a global problem to them. And being able to have that turnaround of helping people. And we do it every day, all day. You know, people hit me on my phone all the time. They text me. I have a real direct communication with New Yorkers. People find it surprising the volume of stuff I deal with, but I'm able to still stay close to people. A young girl texted me when she was protesting outside her school. She texted me to tell me she was having a problem with her school, and I hit her back. And they wrote a whole article about it. They was like, wait a minute, this young high school student texts you with a problem, you text her back within like 30,
Like phone
40
number,
seconds.
not DM, phone number? Like
Yes,
she text you?
Yes.
Crazy.
Right. And I told her, listen, you need to get back in school, but I'm gonna look at the problem that you're having. But that type of helping everyday people, and people feel as though, you know, this mayor is not an elitist, that I can actually be close to him, interact with him, and he acknowledges me as a person. To me, that means a lot. I want to be considered an authentic person, because people can tell if you're authentic about caring for them. And that's what I want to be known for. And that is the most enjoyable part of being a mayor, that a position at this level of the most important mayor on the globe still is a humble person that I'm here to serve and not to be served.
Lastly,
Yes, sir.
Eric Adams, if there's one thing you can change, whether it's the perception, whether it's the current migrant situation, if there's something on the top of your list that you wish you can change at a snap of your finger, what would that be and why?
Let migrants work. You know, let them work. The precursor to sleep that allows us to experience the American dream is the ability to work. Dignity comes with that. And when you bring 207,000 people into a country, you parole them in legally, and you tell them you can work anywhere up to 2 years. Just think about how, you know, undignified that is. And then when you put that with the fact and align it with the fact that we need workers, we need food service workers, we need lifeguards, we need nurses, we need bilingual translators. We have people come from West Africa, from South and Central America. We have migrants and asylum seekers that are coming from Ukraine. You don't even hear about them because they're able to work. So if you could work from Ukraine, why can't you do it from Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia, Mexico, West Africa? Just not right. And if I could snap my finger instantly, I would say, let's allow people to work so they can contribute to society and they can continue on their next step to participate in the American dream. That obstacle, that crisis can turn into an opportunity if we allow people to work. And people can say, well, they're going to take our jobs. Well, you ain't doing a job now. You know, I got 11,000 open positions in city government. Migrants are not taking them, then every day other people can take it. And many of our cities have a population decrease. We have population problems. So what we should be doing when you are paroled into the country, We should say, here's where you're going to go for 3 years because we need people there. After you do your 3 years in that municipality, that city, then you can go anywhere you want in the country. That's how you control the crises and not let the crises control us.
Mr. Eric Adams.
Yes, brother.
It was a pleasure and honor, right? What I came down, my consensus of this whole conversation, it's we may not understand your day to day, but we know you got hands, and I'm getting invited to the cookout. I'm getting the phone number. You know what I mean? All of the above. I genuinely appreciate you coming to a space that I've built so many memories, and this one might be on the top of the list.
I love that. I love that. And you know, one of the mistakes we made when David Dinkins was mayor is that we allowed the press to turn his base against him. And we started talking about him and, you know, dumping on him, not realizing what he did with Safe City, Safe Streets, got more police officers in our city, made our city safe, started some of the MWBE programs, really dedicated his life to children. We didn't even realize what happened. We dumped on him so bad, and we got what? Giuliani. You know, that's what we are again. You know, don't let people sell you the BS. This city is moving in the right direction. We're not coming back, we're back. And we're moving in the right direction with people that look like you and I. That's so important.
I think there's duality in all. I think you was here to showcase, you know, what you're doing, opposed to what we other people. There's always another side of the story, but
without a doubt.
But we got your side of the story, and I know you're a busy man, so we're gonna get you out of here safe. Anybody act crazy out there, we do what we have to, right? Mr. Eric Adams, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. If you don't subscribe now, it's over. I don't know what to tell you. We got one with the mayor. In the Living Room Podcast, where we learn, laugh, and heal. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, man. Good to see you, brother.